Des'ree Annette Weeks, better known simply as Des'ree, was born in Croydon, southeast London on November 30th, 1968. Not surprisingly, her Guyanese mother and her Bajan father introduced their daughter to a lot of the music they love, including reggae, calypso, and jazz. Des'ree was foremost a lover of words, and later changed the spelling of her name to reflect this. This preference was cultivated during the 3 years she and her family lived in Barbados. By the time she'd returned to the UK as a teenager, her penchant for poetry was firmly entrenched. But in order to perform on the musical stage, to be the Gladys Knight she'd impersonated as a child, she knew she had to put her words to music and record a demo. In 1991, and in record time after sending in that demo to Sony Records, 22-year-old Des'ree signed with their unit, Sony 550. Her debut single, Feel So High, was released that summer. It didn't initially reach the UK Top 40, but hit number 13 when it was re-released in January the following year. Her debut album, Mind Adventures, was released in February 1992, peaking at number 26 in the UK. Unfortunately, it went unnoticed on the US charts. After that, Des'ree collaborated with the artist formerly known as Terence Trent D'Arby, now known as Sananda Maitreya, on the song Delicate. It made it into the UK Top 20. In the spring of 1994, Des'ree's single You Gotta Be dropped. It was the painful demise of a relationship that prompted her to read Shakti Gawain's creative visualization, which in turn inspired her to write the song. It would end up being her highest charting song on the Billboard Hot 100, peaking at number 5. The hit single-handedly turned America into her biggest market. The self-help anthem remained in the US chart for more than a year and a half, and its accompanying music video became the most played on VH1. You gotta be bad, you gotta be bold, you gotta be wiser. Her second album, which the single came from, titled I Ain't Movin', was released a couple of months later. A concert tour of the US with fellow British singer Seal followed. Even though her music was receiving a lot of love from fans, Des'ree still faced an upward battle when it came to respect. Urban Radio in the US declared Des'ree wasn't black enough, quote unquote, to be played alongside the Mary J. Bliges and the SWVs. And even though she believed such barriers were being broken by artists like Erykah Badu, she still described this form of blacklisting as highlighting how segregated the music industry is, telling the Irish Times in 1998, "The definition of black music needs redefining. You have artists like Jimi Hendrix and Tina Turner that urban radio wouldn't play, and even Sade and Seal. They claim they were too pop. So what are they trying to say? That black musicians aren't allowed to express themselves in a variety of styles, as in jazz? Does the fact that I speak from my own experience as a black and as a female count for nothing?" Well, according to those who use the phrase too pop, it can't be denied that it is often viewed as a coded way of saying singers such as Sade, Seal, and Des'ree have, quote, sold out, end quote, their black roots. If that's how they see things, that's wrong, because this reduces us to a one-dimensional people. Besides, there's two sides to even that story. Some rappers do write that way, express their lives on a day-to-day basis in terms of the ghetto, guns, violence, and drugs. That's all they know, or have known. But others say, okay, we have this ghetto situation, but let's try to rise above that. That would be more my attitude. Because if the only thing black artists project to kids is negative images of themselves and their environment, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, whereby that's all they expect from life. It's the same thing if young musicians are told there is only one style of music we can use to express ourselves. I just can't agree with any of that, and I certainly don't feel I have, quote, sold out. Des'ree described her music to the Washington Post like this: "It's acoustic because it's live, and it's soulful because it's honest. It's deep. It comes from within. It doesn't adhere to an R&B fashion, or a swing beat, or a hip-hop groove, or a British soul feel." Her international success also led to invitations for Des'ree to contribute to the soundtracks for noted films of the period, including Clockers, Set It Off, and Romeo and Juliet, in which she made an appearance. The following year, her single Life became a hit in Europe, reaching number 1 in many countries. Many years later, a BBC Radio 6 listeners poll declared the song as featuring the worst lyric in pop, its offending lines being, "I don't want to see a ghost, it's the sight that I fear most, I'd rather have a piece of toast, watch the evening news." When asked what the song was really all about, she said, "Life was written when I was exhausted and watching television late at night. I'd gotten in at 4 in the morning and had made myself some tea and toast. Richard Branson was trying to go around the world for maybe the third time, and I thought, sometimes it doesn't matter how much power and influence you have. You're not always able to achieve what you want. Isn't that life?" Then this melody started floating in my head. Sometimes you have the best laid plans, and then a curveball gets thrown your way. It's kind of tongue-in-cheek. So was she actively trying to get the line about toast into the song? No, I never get any lines actively. I went with the flow on that one and thought people will make of it what they will. You'll either love it or it'll drive you nuts. And her response to people's response to it? I just thought, oh, have a sense of humor. I'm only having a bit of fun. In 1997, Desiree's hit Feel So High was interpolated into the Janet Jackson song Got Till It's Gone from her album The Velvet Rope, without due credit being given to Desiree as a contributor. Subsequent releases containing the track would list Desiree as one of its writers, following a successful lawsuit against Janet. Desiree was awarded an out-of-court settlement granting her 25% of the publishing royalties after Janet admitted that her song was so similar to Desiree's that it could be seen as copyright infringement. Desiree, though, insists the legal wrangle with Janet had more to do with principle than cash. "My aim wasn't to get money out of her. It was purely for justice to be done and a settlement to be reached, recognizing that she had borrowed from my work and not given me credit. As I've always said, it would have been fine if she'd asked permission first. And this is happening with a lot of other artists' work when it comes to sampling. We're not being approached about people using elements of our music, not given a chance to say whether we approve or not. And this, to me, is the key issue." Desiree's third album, Supernatural, was released in the summer of 1998. It was successful across Europe and peaked at number 16 in the UK. It was less successful in the United States, only reaching number 185 on the Billboard 200. She spoke to Billboard about her feelings on how the project would be received after a 4-year hiatus. "I was very nervous about the absence, but I said to myself, I'd rather have that absence and come out with a stunning record than feel the pressure to come out with something earlier and the record be mediocre." Also included on the album is the duet remake of Bruce Springsteen's Fire with Babyface, taken from the soundtrack to his Edmonds Entertainment Company's romantic comedy film, Have Plenty. Desiree then put her music career on hold to focus on her private life. Her fourth album, Dream Soldier, was released in 2003. When asked about how she spent the last 5 years since her last effort, she told UK Metro newspaper, "At home, I felt quite barren of song ideas, so I got back to some everyday things, catching up with friends. I did a course in photography, I did ceramics and art. These were things I was interested in but never had the time to do. And I'm glad I did, as I was able to get inspired again." The album's lead single, It's Okay, didn't fare well on the UK chart. Overall, the project wasn't a commercial or critical success, which led to her parting ways with Sony. Everyone would come to find out, though, that Desiree also parted ways with her fans for 16 long years. She completely disappeared from public life. No social media, no gigs, and no Where Are They Now style TV appearances. In 2007, she went head-to-head in court again with another pop diva when she filed a lawsuit against Beyoncé, claiming that her cover of Desiree's song Kissing You, retitled Still in Love, Kissing You, and featured on Beyoncé's album B-Day, was released without permission. Desiree said in the suit that there was an initial attempt for a deal to be worked out, but that involved a request to change the title and film a music video, both of which were denied. So Beyoncé went ahead and did it all anyway, recorded the song, changed the title, and shot a music video. The case was later dismissed, but not before editions of the album featuring the song were pulled from sale. Then, out of nowhere, in September 2019, Desiree quietly dropped a new single, a ballad called Don't Be Afraid. It would be from her last album to date that dropped the following month, titled A Love Story, released by her own label, Stargazer Records. According to the press notes accompanying her album announcement, innate shyness, chronic stage fright, and a fear of flying led to her to believe that 2003's Dream Soldier would be her last album. She was also struggling with low energy due to an underactive thyroid, and when her record company didn't take the option for another record, she walked away from the music industry completely. From there, Desiree took up courses in ceramics, pottery, painting, and jewelry design before arriving at her other passion, alternative medicine. She now qualifies as both a nutritionist and naturopath. In 2014, Desiree made her first tentative steps back into the studio, recording music with her long-standing co-writers, she says, purely for pleasure and without expectations. Eventually, the songs started to form an album, and she opened herself up to the idea of a low-key return to the music industry. Then, life got in the way once more, as her mother became seriously ill, and she and her sister became her caregivers. A Love Story is a collection of heartfelt songs that show Desiree's maturity and vulnerability, that speaks of events and emotions which, despite their deeply personal nature, many can relate to. Since she doesn't maintain a current presence on social media, it's hard to say what Desiree's been up to since 2019. So for now, fans will have to be satisfied with the body of work her 30 years in the music industry have already produced, and continue to stand the test of time.